Welcome to Champion Minded, the podcast for those who aim for excellence, not only in the sports arena, but in life. My name is Allistair, author, speaker, mindset and performance coach, and my goal is to help you unleash your unlimited potential and provide you with the tools to achieve greatness. Are you ready to become champion minded? Then let's do this. Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to the Champion Minded podcast, or welcome back to the podcast. I am Allistair McCaw. I am in Brisbane, Australia, one of my favorite places on the globe. Always love coming down under. Super friendly people. Lots of sports going on all the time, and I just love the vibe here. What am I doing here? I've had a few speaking engagements. I've been consulting with a few athletes and meeting some of Australia's best coaches, especially in the code of rugby league, footy, AFL, which is one of the big sports down here. If you don't know what AFL is, Google it. It's a pretty cool sport. But been spending time in cultures and especially leadership, and that's what's given me the idea, the fuel to share with you what I've been sharing with some of these great leaders and leaders of companies and leaders of prominent sports teams on the 10C's of what I call champion-minded leadership. So I'm pretty pumped, pretty excited to share that with you guys. We are all leaders. I always start there, because to lead others, you have to first lead yourself. And that requires knowing yourself. That requires working on yourself, investing in yourself. That's what great leaders do. But it's important to understand the skills that you need to acquire to become a great leader. And that's what I'm going to share with you guys today. So I hope you enjoy this one. Take a pen to paper. Write these things down. Definitely when I listen to a podcast or read a book, I always like to keep a little notebook next to it and jot down some notes and keep key points. So I encourage you guys to do the same. So here we go. The 10 C's of champion-minded leadership. Number 1, character. And John Wooden had a great quote, the great John Wooden, who was a UCLA basketball coach and probably actually was voted the best coach of the last century. And John Wooden said, "Your reputation is what others think of you. Your character is who you are." And who are you? What determines character? Well, the big one there is values. What are your values? What do you stand for? You know, speaking this week with a large company here in Brisbane, speaking to 80 of their staff members, I touched on the fact that if you don't know your values and you don't know your standards, then what do you go back on when it's time to make tough decisions? Because sometimes we want to make the easy decisions instead of the right decisions. And the right decisions are sometimes very tough. Sometimes in leadership they involve removing certain people from the organization or removing certain people from the club, for example. So, knowing your values and knowing your standards is one of the most important things, especially when it comes to character. Character is in your actions. Character is seen in your behaviors. You will find today in large corporations and in recruiting, especially in sports recruiting for teams and colleges and clubs, leaders today are looking for people with good character. Not necessarily the skills, because skills can be taught, but character can't be taught. It's who you are. It's how can we improve our character. Well, investing in yourself. Working on your emotional intelligence, working on the ability to know yourself, the ability to know others, controlling your emotions. These are all things that are linked to your character. The second one in 10 C's of a champion-minded leadership is competence. Of course, it's important to have the skills to know how to do the job effectively. And here's the thing, none of us are experts. I don't see myself as an expert in my industry. In fact, the more I learn, the more I realize I don't know. So, when you're evolving, when you're continually on a growth path, which great leaders do, you're always improving your skills. You're always looking at ways to improve your knowledge, to improve your skills, to increase your experience, which increases your value, so to say. Um, confidence is a skill, and the more you invest in the self, the more you're going to increase your worth. The more effort you're going to put in there. Number 3, cohesion. And what is cohesion? Cohesion is the ability to work together with others. And a lot of the times now in hiring positions, they're looking at people that don't only have good character and competence, the first 2 we spoke about, but also their ability to work alongside others. On hiring or recruiting players or people for your company, are you looking at that skill, the ability to get along with others and mix in with the group? That's a big one. Number 4, communication, which is probably the number one tool in effective leadership. You need to be a great communicator. And what is communication? First of all, in leadership is understanding who you lead, understanding your team. Before you can lead your team, you need to understand your team. You need to understand the individuals. That is what makes great leaders. But how do we improve our communication? First of all, become a better listener. In my first book, 10C's to Being a Great Coach, I spoke about the importance of being an 80% listener and a 20% talker. The more we listen, the more we learn. The more we talk, we're just saying things we already know. But the more we listen, the more we learn. So become a better communicator. Communication is a skill. Communication is something you intentionally need to learn to get better at. It is not a given. You're not born a great communicator. Of course, our upbringing influences our communication skills, the way our parents communicated. However, communication is a learned skill, and I honestly believe that if you invest in that area of being a better communicator, you will improve your relationships. You will improve your productivity because you will have the ability to listen better and to find better answers, better solutions. Communication as well is we have to adapt our communication to those we lead. Today we're dealing with different generations. We're dealing with the Z generation, we're dealing with millennials, we're dealing with the Y, the X generation, and all these generations communicate differently. And this is one area I particularly talk about when I speak to large groups, especially in the corporate area or in coaching, is you need to be able to adapt to the generation that you're working with. And do you know how to do that? If not, again, you have to invest in these areas. This is what great leadership requires. Number 5 in 10C's of champion-minded leadership is care. People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. Okay? So you might have all the skills, you might have all the competence, you might have great cohesion. However, people want to know that you care for them as a person first. And that is the key today in leadership, is building relationships. And building relationships can be a very, very tough process for some people. But again, we talk about getting out of that comfort zone. If you're an introvert, you're not good around people. Well, first of all, you have to change your beliefs about that. First of all, even if you were to have the goal of to meet one new person a day, that's 365 new people and hands you've shook at the end of the year. And the possibilities give you 365 more chances or possibilities to develop a working relationship or something in the future. So building relationships is important, but people need to know that you care. And care builds trust. And trust takes time. Trust is about consistency. Show others you care. Tell others you care. Tell others that you appreciate them. That is one of the biggest areas where most people leave jobs today, especially in the United States, is that they don't feel appreciated. Number 6, compassion. And definitely this one can be linked to probably one of the top 3 things in leadership is empathy. Great leaders have empathy, the ability to get in the shoes of the other person and understand that other person, to have compassion. to understand their difficulties, to understand their concerns. This is leadership. We're not just telling them what to do, we're showing them how to do it. We're providing the tools of how to do it. And this is a big breakdown in a lot of corporates and a lot of groups and clubs and teams I work with, is they have the instructions, but they don't have the tools. And, coaches need to show compassion in this area as well, and empathy and understanding the people they're leading. Number 7, clarity. And where does good clarity come from? It comes from good communication. The better you communicate, the more clarity there is. So, for example, clarity in the vision, clarity in the strategy. If there's a lack of clarity in those things, how can you expect your team to work effectively? And how can you expect your team to feel confident in what they're doing? Great communication, great leaders have great communication skills that they're able to get their message across in various different ways. In fact, one of the head coaches I was working with this week, who heads up a big rugby club here and team, that was one of his skills when I saw him speaking to the players during a practice one day, is that his ability to be clear on the message. He would finish the message or the instructions with, "Do we all understand?" And leaving time and leaving space for anyone to ask a question so that they knew what they had to do or what they needed to carry out. So he was really, really big on clarity, which comes through great communication. Everybody understanding what is required. Clarity is something that comes from repetition, reminding your team, reminding your fellow staff every single day of what needs to be done, what the vision is. Just saying it once on a Monday, or saying it at the beginning of the season, or once every blue moon, that is going to develop a lack of clarity. So make sure you're getting that message across often. Repeat it. Number 8 in the 10 C's of champion-minded leadership is courage. Those tough conversations, those hard conversations with maybe team members that aren't giving their best effort, or maybe someone that you need to let go. And here's something about great cultures. You cannot have a great culture with the same problems. If you're coming into a new team or a new company or a new group, you cannot change a culture until you change certain people that have been the problem before. Do you have the courage as a leader to do that, to have those tough conversations, to make those decisions, putting the feelings aside and the facts in place? Leadership requires courage. It requires making tough decisions. Sometimes you're not going to get those right, but it's so important in leadership. That is what your team is looking to you for. A great leader is confident, not arrogant, confident. When we make mistakes as leaders, we need to admit up to that. Great leaders have vulnerability. They're willing to admit their mistakes. There's a no blame culture. I'm not blaming anybody, but except we. Okay, we messed up. What do? Mercedes-Benz Formula One team, one of the most successful teams in sports today, have a policy of see it, say it, fix it. See it, say it, fix it. So, are we making those choices? Develop that courage. That's what great leaders are for. Number 9, coaching. Who coaches the coaches? Who coaches the leaders? One commonality I've seen in great leaders and coaches is that they have mentors or coaches or other people in their life they trust that give them advice, that look above them, that are able to give them honest feedback that helps them become a better leader themselves. But as a leader or a coach, how coachable are you? We talk about our team players or the people we work with, how their ability to learn, but what about us? Are we investing in our knowledge and our experience? Are we being able to be coached by others? Are we good listeners? In my career, I've definitely been able, once I developed more of an open mind and I believed I could learn from anybody, That's when things change for me. I've learned from people that have been in the industry for months. That's all I'm talking, like less than a year, where I've seen something and gone, that is a great leadership quality, or that is a great skill that I haven't seen before, or a great approach, for example. Open yourself up to being coached to anybody. That's what makes a great leader. Humility. Humility. Another big word. Humility, vulnerability, empathy. These are what makes great leadership. Number 10, the final one in 10 C's of champion-minded leadership, and I hope you guys have been writing these down, is consistency. Be consistent in your actions. Be consistent, especially in your moods. Be consistent in your message. Be a consistent human being, first of all. People will not buy into the vision if they haven't bought into the person the leader is. Okay? I'll say it again. People will not buy into the vision until they've bought into the person the leader is. Who are you, the leader? Are you consistent? How do we build trust? Consistency. How do we build great relationships? Being consistent. How do we build great competence? Being consistent. Okay? Every single day. You've got to do these things on purpose. Be consistent. It's okay to change your mind. You know, Michael Boyle, who's probably one of the best trainers and coaches in the world in sports performance, says it's okay to change your mind as long as you've come up with something better. And you're willing to be open with your team and transparent and say, you know what, I'm changing my mind on something I said 2 months ago or 2 weeks ago because I believe that this is going to work better for us. Honesty, transparency, this is how you build trust within a team. Again, you're not always going to get it right, and that's fine. But admit to it. Stay consistent. Okay, guys, so let's go over those 10 C's of champion-minded leadership. I hope you enjoyed this one today because I have. I've really been submerged this week in this, and I just get so pumped and excited about it. And I thought, you know what? Let's put this out in the podcast. I want to share with you guys what I've been speaking about here in Brisbane with some of the best leaders, business leaders, and coaches here in Brisbane. First one, character. Number 2, competence. Number 3, cohesion. Number 4, communication. Number 5, care. Number 6, compassion. Number 7, clarity. Number 8, courage. Number 9, coaching. And number 10, consistency. So guys, I hope you enjoyed that one. Once again, thank you so much for joining me this week. Remember that this podcast is available on iTunes and YouTube. Connect with me on social media. I'm on Twitter at Allistair McCall, on Instagram Be Champion Minded, and on Facebook Allistair McCall page. So guys, lead with purpose, lead with confidence. Remember that the most important person to lead is yourself. Lead with empathy, vulnerability, humility. These are all qualities of great leadership, and we all can learn these skills. Just like anything else, it's a learned skill. So guys, remember, you were made for greatness. Now go do the work. Until next time, stay champion-minded, my friends.